Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. Welcome to the channel. And what am I going to talk about today? Today I'm going to talk about 7 habits which are keeping you poor. 7 habits which are the impediment to you becoming rich. And if you can overcome these 7 habits, which all of us suffer from, you'll be much better and you have much to gain, including wealth and especially a sense of achievement. And if anything, happiness and leading a life without too much of struggle will become very apparent to you. It's not something that's going to create wealth. It's not going to be some investment idea. These are 7 things which are quite toxic, which we do to ourselves without even realizing, and we do it unconsciously, some of this, because we just get into a bad loop or a bad habit. And we don't even realize these habits are there till we shine some light on it and we see it. I've suffered most of these habits and I've found it a struggle to get through them. And I strongly urge you to analyze and see if you suffer from any of these 7 habits, to work through it and get out of them. First one, paying yourself last. The importance of saving is first is a concept learned from time immemorial. Anand has spoken about it. Shashwat has spoken about the richest man in Babylon, that's suggesting that keeping 10% of your income immediately into your savings account, that is actually paying yourself. We tend to do this last, and we tend to think that, yes, we will get down to saving, we will get down to saving, we will get down to saving, and we never do. That means we're basically not paying ourselves. By taking 10% out and putting it aside into an investment or a savings is basically paying yourself first. And I strongly suggest all of us do this. And one of the reasons why businessmen also fail in their business ventures is because they forget to take their own salary into account and they don't even draw their salary. I know a lot of business people, including me, who failed at this first initial step, that will be busily hiring people, busily taking places for rent and buying software and spending capital expense and not including our own salary into working expense. And we'll keep telling ourselves, no, we will draw salary later, we'll draw salary later. By postponing this, where we don't pay ourselves, most entrepreneurs, that's one of the fundamental blocks of failure, because you don't pull money out for yourself. You don't put something aside for yourself. And that's the first thing which I want you to think about, is putting 10% of your salary. If you're a salary person, if you're a business person, put 10% of your income into a savings as an investment account where you're paying yourself for your future, for your investment. Second, this is something which most of us tend to do, and even Kesav is becoming accustomed to this, and I've been trying to get him out of this, is becoming normalizing debt. Normalizing debt is trivializing expenses, and you start putting off things into credit and buying useless things and not paying cash for things. That's like, you go out, you see something which you fancy, you don't have the money for you on you, so you just decide to swipe it on the card. You go out for lunch, you go out for something like a drinks with your friends, and you decide to swipe your card. And it gets into a habit of where accumulating credit card debt becomes a habit, and you think it's normal, everyone does it, there's nothing wrong with it. The first few times it will be a bit of a pinprick where your emotions has a little bit of a tingle, where you think, am I doing the right thing? Everyone said I shouldn't take debt. And then you take debt, then you pay the couple of EMIs, and you're so used to doing it, you don't even think about it anymore. You just keep on piling on debt and consuming debt without even realizing how amount of debt you're consuming, the amount of interest you're paying, and actually you're bleeding. So this is what happens when you become comfortable with debt. It's like having a million micro cuts on your body, and you're bleeding profusely from everywhere, but you don't seem to realize it because these are all micro cuts and you really can't see it. That's the best analogy I can think of when I'm talking about getting comfortable with debt. So this is something which I strongly suggest you think about. If you are very comfortable with debt, especially credit card debt, then maybe it's time that you give it a break and see how is life without having some debt around you. 3. Not knowing what income is and expenses. A lot of people get this very confused. In basic accounting, this happens where we do not know what an asset is, what is a liability. Sometimes a liability turns into an asset, and sometimes an asset turns into a liability. Same thing is very true for not knowing what an income or what an expense is. We can sometimes claim an expense as it is going to generate income, so it is an income. Sometimes we'll think something which is generating income, and we can write it off as an expense when actually it is generating income for us. So this is something to keep in mind. Do realize what an income is, what an expense is, what basically brings in cash to you, and what is taking cash out of you. It's as simple as that. And I strongly suggest you spend a little time in learning about a little bit of accounting and accounting literacy to know what income and expenses are, what assets and liabilities are. It will pay you forward in dividends years and years coming to the future. 4. Having expensive hobbies. One of the most expensive hobbies when I used to be a child, which I was encouraged by my father to do, yes, I'm thankful that he did it because he could afford to do it, was photography. As an example, I'm going to talk about this. Back then, in those days, you had to buy film and you had to shoot with an expensive camera, with an expensive lens. Then take that film and go give it for developing. Then after developing, you have to make prints. Then you get to see the prints. And then before you know it, you have different kinds of films. And I used to spend oodles and oodles of money on films and developing them and printing them, thinking that it was something I was just doing for fun as a hobby on the side. Before knowing it, it was burning a huge hole in my father's pocket. Though he could afford it, looking back in retrospect, that was an expensive hobby. What happens is these kind of hobbies tend to percolate in your life and it will start surfacing when you can't afford it. And these hobbies, especially when times are tough, when you can't afford it, can be a cash drain and can be draining you without even you realizing that it's leading to a drain. So I want you to take an assessment in your life. What are these expensive hobbies which you have? And if you cut these hobbies down or change your hobbies, could life still be enjoyable for you? And can you save some money? And a large percentage of that expense becomes a savings for you. So think about it. 5. Tax efficiency. A lot of us don't do this, is filing our taxes. And those of you whom file taxes don't even bother looking into what you're doing in terms of your taxes. Your company takes a certain percentage out of your salary, it's paid to the government, and they tell you to give you some Form 16, and you file it, and you're done. I don't care. Wrong. You should care. That too, if you're earning a lot of money, you're paying a lot of taxes, and if there are opportunities where you can claim expenses and cut your tax down, you should definitely try and save your tax. If you're a business person, if you're a consultant, definitely there are many opportunities for you to lower your tax burden and even bring your tax to zero if you're very smart about it, which you should do by employing a good accountant. So learn to be efficient in your tax and improve your tax efficiency and become more knowledgeable in this by employing an auditor. 6. Delaying investing. This is critical because this is the main reason why we tend to stay poor, is because we delay investing. Don't delay investing. As soon as you've seen Anand's videos a year back, 2 years back, I hope that you've opened your mutual fund account and you started passively investing. You don't have to learn about stocks. You don't have to learn about bonds. You don't even have to learn about gold. All you have to do is open an account and put a bit of the money which you've been putting, instead of putting in an LIC or putting in a general insurance plan, to take some of that and stop doing that and plug that money into a passive fund and start growing true wealth. So delaying investing is one of the main reasons people tend to stay poor and lead a life of being poor. The sooner you start, the better it is. 7 leads into what I was saying previously in 6, which is investing strategies. Once you've become an investor and you've started investing, pay attention to your strategies of investing. See what your runways are, what your goals are, what your risk appetites are, what you're willing to take a gamble on, and employ a financial advisor. That is the most important thing once you start investing, like having an auditor, have a professional financial advisor to help you, show you the opportunities, what is new, what is there, where you can put your money, depending on your risk appetites, depending on your goals, and where you want to be. So I hope these 7 habits which I spoke about, that not most of them are there with you, only a few are there. If you are unfortunate like me and you had all these habits, I hope now that you know about it, you can try and work through it and get through them and get over them. I hope you found this video informative and entertaining as always, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Keep those questions on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn coming, because I do respond to every one of them, and I've been having some very lovely conversations with you guys on that. And that's where actually the inspiration for this video came from, when someone was asking me, what are these habits which you can have which tend to keep you poor? Thank you.